Look at this pretty label, I like it. The Bardstown Bourbon Company Discovery Series highlights the art of blending by creating expressions that together are greater than the sum of its parts. To that end, Bardstown Bourbon Company has sourced 5 different bourbons for this new blend, along with a new look label that is both modern, but still gives us that transparency that we all know and love. Let's crack it open, do a quick comparison, and see if it's worth the money. Stay tuned, it's the Mash and Drum. What's up, folks? I'm Jason C. from the Mash and Drum. Welcome back to the show. Like, subscribe, help grow the channel for 2023. Whiskey Tube family, thank you so much. So the Discovery Series number 10 gets its flavor and depth from selected premium aged bourbons, just like past, Discovery Series releases. The blend is built around unique profiles from Kentucky, Georgia, and yes, Tennessee. But just a little itty bitty of it is from Tennessee.
No! God, please, no! No!
Primarily, it's made up of Kentucky-sourced bourbons ranging from 6 to 13 years old, but the blend is then rounded out by 2 10-year-old expressions from Tennessee and Georgia. Also, you will notice is a new look for the Discovery Series. Gone are the maroon labels like you see here on Discovery number 9, which have been replaced by a white label with a bright cherry red stripe on the front that clearly states Discovery 10. It was a change I personally wanted for a while. It seemed you always had to, if you're looking at the bottle on the shelf, you always had to kind of turn it just to see what batch it was, what number it was. But now you don't have to do that anymore. Now it's clearly stated on the front of the label, and the side still contains all the transparency and blend components that I think makes Discovery Series an outlier for higher price blends. All right, so let's go through the blend components real quick. I'm not gonna go through the mash bills. I will put them up on the screen, but I'll just kind of run through the percentages of each of the whiskeys used in this blend. So first and foremost, you have a 62% Kentucky 9-year bourbon that's in this blend. You have 18% of a 13-year Kentucky bourbon as well. You have 10% of a 10-year 4-grain bourbon from Georgia, which is a component that they used in the last blend. You have 8% of a 6-year Kentucky bourbon with a very high rye mash bill of 26%. And then lastly, you have that 10-year-old Tennessee bourbon that's only 2% of the blend. So just a little bit of the Tennessee in there, like they said, to round it all out. So to round out the details, Discovery number 10 is bottled at 114.24 proof and is offered at an SRP of $139.99. It's available through Bardstown Bourbon Company gift shop at retailers in 24 states and online at sealbox.com. Let's taste it. All right, here we go. Man, the high-aged oak really comes through immediately. Man, cherry and almonds all day long, but a big, huge punch of cherry here. Man, this is like dry cherries, like just, they're really potent. Like the cherry is really coming through, but also getting like that roast and almond note as well. Plenty of cinnamon to go around here too. You get your usual components. There's a nice brown sugar caramel note happening too. There's a slight hint of smoke to it, like a barrel char note. And I mean, that could be coming from anywhere. That could be coming from any of the components here, but it's definitely a little bit more prevalent. Now, if you're looking at the blend components, 62% of it, I mean, usually those bourbons are, one of them rhymes with Tim Seam, and the other one rhymes with mild lurky. So you can kind of figure that out, and those two mash bills are pretty well known. But I feel like you smell a lot of that, especially the Tim Seam. It's very prevalent. Like I feel like I'm getting like that nuttiness. I feel like I'm getting, but I'm also getting, I think, a lot of the cherry, from the mild lurky, I think. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep saying those names. All right, let's try it, guys. I mean, the first sip is, man, the first sip's real good. Wow. All those flavors I was talking about on the nose just really, oh man, this thing just keeps going. The cherry on this is just so prevalent, and it's not a medicinal cherry. Sometimes you taste cherry and it comes off a little cough syrupy. That is not this. This is more of like a Luxardo cherry. Tons of like vanilla icing on it, little orange as well. That almond like type of nuttiness is there. I mean, this is, all right, 10. Let me Need another sip of this one to really test it. The mouthfeel on this is just beautiful. It is velvety, it's silky, it just kind of coats your palate. One thing I will say, because I know everyone's gonna ask, do you taste, you know, do you taste that pickle whiskey? Nope, I'm not really getting much of it at all. I'm looking for that minerality that you get from that mash bill, and I'm just not getting it at all. This is all up front, just cherry, almond, man, that vanilla and just the velvetiness of this is really impressive. I mean, this is like trying to sip, like it's gonna sound like weird, but it's like drinking like a watered down like creme brulee. It's like super creamy. Let me try another one here. So third sip, I think, is where the Georgia whiskey starts, you know, peeking through a little bit here. You get a little bit of the smoke note there. Again, that I got on the nose. But I also think that's bringing a lot of the spiciness that it has. This has a really nice, it's a subtle finish. It doesn't kind of, you know, explode on the back of your palate, but it's just enough there that it just lingers. It's a really nice balance. And you know, some of the Discovery series, you know, some of the balances are a little bit better than others, but this one is really has a nice balance. So another sip here. So I will say, the more you sip this, that sweetness that I got in the first couple sips starts mellowing out a little bit. It becomes a little bit more oaky. The Tim Seam whiskey that's in this, I think it really starts going that way. Like it starts getting into a little bit more oaky, nutty type profile. Now you have the almond, but I think there's like a little bit of a pecan pie type note in it. Man, the spice is not, man, this is pretty damn good. This is probably one of the more impressive discoveries I've had in the last couple blends. There have been some real amazing blends, and I feel like a few of these over time, they have been very good, but none of them have been like, wow. This one might be going to that wow factor a little bit, or more towards it. Yeah, cherry, orange, vanilla. It is so velvety. I think the spice from the Georgia whiskey is definitely prevalent for sure. It's got a great finish to it. This is as balance gets. I mean, the only knock I could give this is that the more you sip it, I feel like it doesn't stay as sweet as like those first couple sips. I think the oak and some of the age really comes in. So if you like that, I think you'll really enjoy this. But the one thing that's holding true is the balance of this. The balance of this, you know, in this bourbon is just so delicious. It's really, really good. All right, guys, final breakdown on the Discovery 10 from Bardstown Bourbon Company. You're looking at 114.24 proof. Price for this one, $140. Let's call it what it is. It's $140. Secondary market value, I haven't seen these upcharged at all, but normally if I see these upcharged, I don't think they're really ever more than $150. Availability on this, I think, is it's solid. It's a solid availability. Again, you have a chance to get it at Bardstown Bourbon Company. It's available in 24 states, but you can also order it on sealbox.com. So I think you have a good shot of getting this one. So I'll say it's solid. Value for this one. So value for this one in particular. Now I factor in a lot of things with value. I love that Bardstown Bourbon Company has always been transparent with what you're getting in the whiskey. So I'm going to say the value here is even. Now you might say that the value is low because it is a high price, being that it's all bourbon, being that most of it is Kentucky bourbon with good high ages in it. You know, you're getting a really good blend. It's really well balanced. I'm going to say that the value for this one is, I'm going to say it's even. The most I pay, I'm going to stay with retail. I think it's exactly where it should be. Alternatives for this one. This is a little tricky because mostly when you think of, now there's a ton of blends out there today. Ton of bourbon blends. It's where everybody's is going in whiskey. People sourcing different barrels, trying to make something new with different blends. But most of that is like, you know, 4 to 6 year NGP. So when you think about that part of it, I think that this really kind of stands out. So, man, if I had to think about an alternative, I'd probably go one of the Pursuit United series. I think I've mentioned that before. Ryan and Kenny from Bourbon Pursuit. I think what you have is some blends that they're doing. They're taking different bourbons from New York, Indiana and Kentucky, blending that together to see what they could come up with. I think K-Luke is an interesting option as well. Now they're blending Indiana and Kentucky. The only issue with K-Luke is, you know, they don't really tell you where it's coming from, and you know, there's NDAs and a lot of stuff that play into it. So, you know, all that stuff happens, but I think those are the two that would kind of stand out to me, like right off the bat. Now I usually hear that 140 is too much for Discovery, but those are the same guys that are buying, you know, 4 to 6 year MGP blends from like Smoke Wagon or Penelope or something else like that. So that doesn't really make sense to me. And lastly, is it a skip? Is it a try before you buy? Is it a buy? Is it a buy and back it up? Man, for this one, this is right on the verge of like buy and back it up for me. I think it's that good. But I will just stay with buy because it is pricey at $140. But I think when you guys see this white label series number 10 on the shelf, I think it's an absolute buy. It's so well balanced. It's creamy. It is sweet. It gets a little bit oaky. It's spicy. This is one of the better Discovery series that I've had in a long time. I'm gonna say it. I absolutely love the flavors. I think they went heavy. If you look at the percentages, they went heavy on the Kentucky bourbon, and I think that's what comes through. I think the mild lurky and the Tim Seam really came through on this blend, and I love it. I think that Georgia whiskey really kind of shows through at the end, really gives it this really nice spice to it. It's just a really, really well balanced blend. This is better than a lot of the allocated stuff that I've had this year so far. So, man, cheers to Bardstown Bourbon Company. They nailed this one. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review for the new Discovery Series 10 from Bardstown Bourbon Company here on the Master and Drum. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter. Let me know what you think about this one if you've had a chance to try it. And as I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share it with. So cheers. I'm gonna drink the hell out of this. Man, I'm digging this one. I'm gonna come out with my own brand called Mild Lurky. I'm gonna get my ass sued though. Cheers.